Basically, Ice Cube turned down a $9 million movie role because he wouldn't get jabbed.
I watched the clip that he revealed this in on Barstool Sports, actually, and when they said, wow, you denied a $9 million role, he was like, I didn't deny it. I didn't turn it down. They didn't give it to me because I didn't do this thing. I didn't comply with this requirement. So it's really not turning it down. It wasn't something that he chose freely.
Semantics.
Yeah, but I mean, ultimately, now people are calling into question whether or not this deal even existed, which is
that's different.
Reaching. I don't know.
What, like he would, like he's lying?
Like he needs to provide proof because they don't think that Ice Cube is worth a $9 million deal.
Also remember that the other ice of the ices is super based when it comes to guns. Ice-T is very pro-gun.
But Ice Cube has an iconic Twitter presence that I absolutely adore.
Who's the one married to Coco? I think that's Ice-T.
That's Ice-T.
We need a Venn diagram of Ice-T and Ice Cube and all of their similarities and differences.
The first thing this reminded me of was I brought up when Rockman Dunbar got fired from 911 because he wouldn't get vaccinated, and he tried to file a religious exemption, and they're like no because they were full of bigots. We can turn their terminology back around on them. They're bigots.
Here's the quote from Ice Cube for context. He said, "I didn't want to get the mother effing jab." He said, I turned down $9 million. I didn't want to get the jab. F that jab. F y'all for trying to make me get it. I don't know how Hollywood feels about me right now. He continued, those MFers didn't give it to me because I wouldn't get the shot. I didn't turn it down. They just wouldn't give it to me. And he said, the COVID shot, the jab, I didn't need it. I didn't catch that S at all. Nothing. F them. I didn't need that S. And so clearly he feels very strongly about this.
How can you tell? If this was a couple of years ago, this is where the people who had no attention, who didn't pay attention to anything but mainstream news, would have still believed that getting it would have prevented others from contracting it.
Well, no, it's to this very day. I see people dragging Ice Cube on Twitter right now.
Think of the children.
Because he, basically by saying this, you are pointing a gun at immunocompromised people's heads it's just like, there's no reaching these people. But I think the ultimate point here is, aside from how you feel about this medical treatment or its merits, it's clearly stifling artistic opportunities.
Can I point out something that my own struggle, right? I'm the type of I try to give everyone the benefit of the doubt, right? If I see somebody outside now and they're still wearing a mask, I'm going to assume that they're immunocompromised and they're just being extremely safe. But I find on my bad days when I'm annoyed, I see it and I get annoyed because I'm like, how do you not realize that this has been that
I think that that's completely unrelated from how celebrities are expected to react to these measures and like whether or not they can get jobs based on their vaccination status. Like even Letitia Wright, which we're going to get into, there's a much different standard because they're seen as role models.
And it's a purity symbol to them.
Yeah, and if you don't get this treatment, then you are morally unclean and you're showing a bad example to your impressionable fan base, et cetera, et cetera.
Let's talk about Letitia Wright then. She basically, she had to respond to an article from the Hollywood Reporter that essentially compared her to a spousal abuser for not getting the vaccine and saying that it was going to hurt her chance to win an Oscar for Black Panther Wakanda Forever. First of all, lulz.
It's insane.
I liked her in that role. It's not an Oscar. Even me, who hates the Oscars, that's if it is, it's pandering, right? But she has been gracious at all levels on this. She made her views known. People jumped down her throat, said the most awful stuff about her, and she just deleted her Twitter. She's like, I don't want to deal with it.
Well, now here's her response to the Hollywood Reporter article. She said, I had to unblock Hollywood Reporter just to post this. Scott Feinberg and all at this publication, you are all incredibly disrespectful. How dare dare you? You mentioned my name alongside men who have been accused of abuse and sexual misconduct. This is vile behavior. At this point, a personal vendetta towards me. I've done nothing wrong, but respectfully refuse to do interviews with this publication. Stop your nonsense. I apologized 2 years ago. Remained silent on the topic. You lied and said I continued talking about it with my cast and crew on my set. This was not true. Ask my producer and director. The film is successful. Your agenda towards me is now even more clear. I won't remain silent. Stop your disgusting behavior. And then she tagged the journalist, queen move by the way, saying this personal agenda with your friends at Hollywood Reporter is disgusting. I've remained silent as the world told me to myself 2 years ago for a video I posted and apologized for. I kept my head down and focused on my craft, and now I'm on the other side of it. Here you are, as a so-called journalist we are meant to trust, putting my name into this nasty article for what? You lack substance. You clearly have nothing to report. The movie is beautiful, impactful, and breaking box office. I worked my ass off with my cast and crew to dedicate it to my brother. How dare you? Did my performance rattle you that much? It was that excellent. I'm still here, still making an impact, still creating projects that touch people's hearts, and it's not going to stop. Get a life for real. This is what celebrities need to start doing. They need to call out the journalists that think they are above retribution. They are above getting called out for these cheap call outs and really, like, when she said this is a targeted vendetta, it absolutely is. Mm-hmm. And what journalists want to say is that they are truth seekers, and to call them out on a public platform when you have a much larger following is punching down. And that's completely untrue. If anything, they are punching down at Letitia Wright.
The journalists have all the power now. They
they're
do.
They're the bullies on social media. They can rally thousands and thousands of people to bully a celebrity like this.
And as long as your name is tied to your career, right? And the first thing that people are going to do when they look you up is get headlines about you. There's so much power in that it's honestly should be considered terrifying that anyone of any political agenda would be able to have that much power and go after individuals as a whole, because we live in the internet age. When you get hired someone, they Google your name. If you're an actor, they Google your name. What's the first thing that comes up when you look a person up, right? So for a while, when you looked up Letitia Wright, all you got was Letitia Wright anti-vaxxer, Letitia Wright post conspiracy religious extremist.
Yeah. And if that wasn't character assassination enough, they've gone further to invoke the power of Me Too and the implications of that and superimposed it onto her and others. I saw this tweet that said, nothing Letitia Wright or Will Smith did warranted comparing them to a man who abused his wife and kids, a pedophile, and a man notorious for abusing women in the industry. Pitt, Polanski, and Weinstein are terrible human beings who deserve to rot in hell.
We've got no proof about Brad Pitt.
Brad Pitt aside,
the other two,
it's insane to take the implication of a Me Too allegation and then impose it onto somebody who didn't get a vaccine to stay on a set, and secondly, someone who had an emotional outburst on live TV.
Yeah, it's bad enough to do all this to someone with nefarious intentions. It's 100 times worse, in my opinion, to do it under the guise of the moral good of society and because you're a journalist seeking truth, which is just a lie.
It is. It reminds me, like, I've said this before about other things, but this is a perfect microcosm of it, is that Hollywood perpetuates this myth that victims are angels.
Yeah, there is no complicated victim anymore.
Right, and but also that, like, if you have experienced some sort of bullying, you will somehow have insight that people who haven't don't. But it's not true. You're individuals, and most of those individuals become vindictive and awful and terrible. And this is it. This is it's the same. Even further microcosm of it is that people who are championing fairness and goodness and kindness say fire her because she's a stupid bitch.
Yeah,
same people.
There's nobody meaner than somebody who has "be kind" in their Twitter profile.
Yes.
Or someone who is a blue check on Twitter thinks they are part of an untouchable class above the rest.
You know, they say
they
they
gotta pay
hate
$8
cops because cops are assholes who want power over somebody. It's the same thing that an entertainment journalist is. Like, maybe not all of them, but for the most part.
A-jab. All journalists are bastards.
I mean, if only celebrities took the lead from Letitia Wright and started calling out these reporters who just think that they have a right to openly defame and character assassinate
Also,
them.
wouldn't that make them racist? If we're playing by their rules, doesn't that make them racist?
Ends justify the means.
Well, that's actually
how they feel.
I actually had that in my notes. That's a thing I want to talk about. I think we've gotten so much, like you talked about earlier. Well, of course it's from 2011, so he likes it. 30 years of media, and one through line that I've noticed is they love stories about the ends justifying the means, and I think that's indicative of their personality. They say that when you read something about a writer, it tells you more about the writer themselves than about the story. I think that has been a through line in Hollywood. It's been a through line in writing for a very long time that, yes, it's okay to do bad things as long as you're doing it in the name of moral good. Sure, we're assassinating the character of a woman who did nothing wrong except for post a video you don't like, but we're doing it in the name of getting people vaccinated so that if it saves just one life, unless we're sending $50 billion to Ukraine, they don't care about, they don't understand that the ends that they do justify the mean, that they do. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
You have to, it matters. How you get to where you're going matters.
Yeah. And it's so weird. It's so weird that, like, I'm partially the way I am because of the stories they told me growing up, like about not conforming, about not giving in to peer pressure. And then just like the last 10 years now has been this. Like, it markedly changed in 2012. Like, that's when I saw it.
What would you consider to be the point of where you noticed it?
I don't think it was a point. Like, I have more esoteric beliefs on why this is happening, I'd say. But
do tell.
The dawning of the age of Aquarius.
Go on.
Yeah, that's what I think. It's a time, like, so the age of Pisces was about, like, order and reason, but the age of Aquarius is about not that. And that's where we are now. Like, it's the end of the age of Jesus and the start of the age of man.
Mary, do you know what this is? The dawning of the age of Aquarius. Does that make sense to you?
No, it does
not. I don't know what that is.
Wesley is far more educated in esoterica than I am.
Yeah. But it's a Jesus thing. Okay. No, I just think that it's a time of, like, lost individuals looking for like not religious but spiritual validation through empty means. And if you are chasing an empty hole, you'll always be chasing an empty hole. And so that's why we're here, to make it a little bit more grounded. It's and something about, I don't know why that's not where it all started. That's just where it goes from being like an aberration to being the norm, and now it is the norm. Like, that is the way things are.
I also found this. I just Googled this earlier, and I remembered reading something about this when we were watching Dexter originally. This is a COVID-19 safety worker sued Paramount because basically she was trying to do her job, and she was getting in the way of getting the show done, so they fired her. So they were she's trying to bring them down for trying to follow their own guidelines.
Same thing as that one production assistant on the Dahmer series who was responsible solely for swabbing people's noses on set,
and then wondered why
no one knew her name, no one liked her, and she was mistaken for another PA.
It's all hypocrisy.
No, not that.
Aw.
Thanks for watching this clip, guys. If you want to see full episodes or follow us on social media, links are in the description below. Bye.